Welcome, everybody, to our new episode of the Female Gentle Leaders podcast. And today I'm here with Kelly Keefe, with an amazing visionary leader, and we want to talk about the co creation with God, universe, intuition, heart, whatever you call it, but the co creation part. The fact that it's not only about meditation and it's not only about action and action and action. So, how do we balance it? How do we work with it in such a way that on one side we don't hustle too much, we don't burn out, and on the other hand, so we do something and have the income, have the visibility, and have amazing clients around us. So, Kelly, I'm so happy you're here. Could you please tell us more about what you do before we dive in this topic?
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here. Female gentle leaders, it's so nourishing in these times to see so many stepping up and remembering that our strength is in the softness as well. So it's so good. Hello world. I am Kelly Keefe, and my heart is on fire for supporting people in stepping into their leadership of self, and then perhaps of teams and perhaps global impacts of things, really supporting in understanding how do we get clear of the vision that's alive in our hearts. And then, as Polly was saying, of being able to co-create with God in that way. So we're creating in alignment. We live in alignment. So that way we're truly healthy and happy and flowing in more of that grace of our true alignment.
That sounds so amazing. And I see that you yourself, you are living it. But how did you arrive in such an amazing state? What is your story behind it?
Yeah, definitely hasn't always been this way. And, reminder to everyone, I'm a human as well. So there's definitely, days that it doesn't feel like it, but that's the human experience. I know I'm not perfect, y'all. I'm not ever going to try to say that. But I had 12 years ago, I was in a meditation. 3 years prior to that, I began a radical weight loss journey. I was deep in depression. I was lost, a lot of adversity growing up in my home. So I was a binge eater and a lot of self-harm, through most of my life. And then there was a light bulb moment that it was time to work out every day, start eating healthy, and this radical transformation began. It led me to meditation and into yoga. And 12 years ago, I was in that meditation and I heard, look up healing modalities. You're a healer. And so I listened, and the journey has transformed since then. 2 days later, I was in a bookstore. I randomly, air quote, randomly met my first teacher, and it unfolded. At that time, I was also in entrepreneurship. So I went into entrepreneurship right out of college. So I was kind of walking this 2-for-1 spirituality entrepreneurship path of understanding, we're creating in the entrepreneurial space of things, and also started to realize that spirituality is one and the same. So it's been a long, winding road, but that's kind of how we arrived here.
And what do you feel that in these 12 years helped you to stay on track, right? Because we often, when things get hard, and as you said, it's a human experience, so it will get hard. So, what helps you to, I don't say stay on track, right? But just to come back to the trust that everything is created for you.
Yeah, there's a few different things. I love my tool belt is stacked, and that's something that I love, sharing with people in the various different ways. Where it's always like there's a plethora of tools, and you won't always use all of them. If you're needing to drill something, you wouldn't use a hammer, but you have a hammer there if need be. So there's a couple of tools that I use regularly. It's my prayer. I'm every day I still read the word, and I'm in my prayer practice and staying in that deep connection. And then with the Reiki practice, so I'm a Reiki master teacher for those who are new to me. So part of our lifestyle is to live by the principles of just for today, do not worry. Just for today, do not fear. I honor my parents, my teachers, my elders. I make my living honestly, and I show gratitude for everything. And I do my energetic practices to set myself. So it supports me in staying in that flow of, Reiki's moving to and through me. And it's an energy that's conspiring for the highest good of all. So I can trust when that's moving through me and I'm navigating life with Reiki, everything's conspiring for the highest good of all. Even when it doesn't look like to my human self, I'm like, wait, this isn't what I want. There's a piece for me that's like, oh, it may not be what my micro self wants, but I can know at a bigger level, this is unfolding in a way that's for the highest good of all. So I can be with that. And then very tangible for people, or, I have a why folder, and I put, when like things can get challenging, or sometimes I'm just like, why do I do what I do? I always come back to the why. We can look at like Simon Sinek's, one of the greatest like TED Talks ever, the reasons and the why. The what and the how isn't going to matter so much when we can continue to come back to, why do I do this? And I do this because this is what I'm here to do this lifetime. And so I put in my why folder, anytime I get a testimony, I screenshot it and I put it in there. Or something lights me up of seeing impact in the globe that's happening that aligns with the vision that I want to see in this world. So if there's times where I'm just like, catch myself say, why do I do this? I know, go to your why folder, because you have created the answer to remind myself. Those are some of them.
I love the idea of the Y folder. I don't have it yet, I think, but
Girl,
I
game
will
changer.
start working on it. Yeah, I do, exactly. I do the screenshots and everything, so I have it somewhere, right, in the Google and everything, but to really have it in one place, it's amazing. And I always tell my clients that the why is everything, right? It makes you, it helps you. It supports you in the moment when it gets heavy or hard or just unpleasant. I don't know, working with a flu, for example, simple thing, right? But if you don't have a big why, even that can stop you, right? Or being visible more, being more, just being more. We need that courage to do it. And is there something you want to share, or does something like pop in your mind? Because I felt when I said the bravery part, because it's not easy to go this way, the spiritual way. So what helps you, or what you say to your clients to stay brave?
Yeah. Confidence is such a superpower, you know, and there's different levels of how I always look at it, because I feel so grateful that I love the earthly realm and how do we build and like still take action and move through those things. And then we can also look at the energetics of, okay, well, where do we need to tune you up energetically? So it's just like, oh, cool. If we just increase the solar plexus work, naturally you're going to feel more confident, and that will be a result. So there's so many levels to it that when I'm in a conversation with the client, but I like to look at, okay, there's bravery. And when we're not feeling so brave, we tend to find ourselves steering a little bit more in the land of fear, right? So we can almost, I would invite anyone who's listening of, brave isn't important. It's the result. The feeling behind it is almost like a sense of love. There's that faith, that knowingness that's going. So there's love and faith, and then the other side is fear. And when we start to look at, how can we befriend fear and not get stuck in it? It's going to happen. Just like we said, good days, bad days, it's all going to happen. In 2019, I wrote a book, Rise Above Fear, where I went deep into the studies of fear, of understanding what is actually happening psychologically, physiologically, and vibrationally when we are in a contracted state of fear. And what came through was a channeled piece, and then, went deeper from there, was when we say, like, well, you just need to slay the fear, just like, forget the fear and do it anyway, that's actually not possible. It's actually going to repress it deeper, and then it's going to consume us at another time. So we might say, I'm just going to ignore it and take a step, and cool, you might make a little bit, but it's going to consume again. So when we find ourselves saying, wow, I could really use a dose of bravery, I'd invite to say, ooh, it sounds almost counterintuitive, but I need to go spend some time with fear. I need to go sit and have a cup of tea with fear and say, hey, what's going on? What are you feeling? And get on the same page. So it's a friend that's like, I'm not going. And it's just like, okay, we just need to talk this out a little bit and let's get on the same page. And it might drag its feet a little bit, but then at least all parts of the team are moving forward. Is a lot of the work that we'll do in that way when something's a contraction. It's like, cool. Let's actually talk to what's there. Let's talk to the elephant in the room. You don't need more bravery in this moment. We need to befriend this fear that's hanging out with us.
Yeah, I feel that fear is just some part of us that wants to keep us safe, right? Because of something that already happened to us. And either we know about it or we don't, right? Or it could be in our DNA, right? That fear. And I love that too. I do that too with my fears always. Like if they keep me awake, I'm not suppressing them, right? I'm just saying, okay, if you won't let me sleep, that means that you need to talk to me, right? So let's talk, let's talk. But it's true that before that, I was escaping that because fear feels so big when it's just in our head and when it's just swirling around. I'm teaching it to my daughter, right? Because she often comes to me already in the moment when it's really big there. So, what is that first thing? Because I think the biggest bravery is talking to that fear, right? So, I'm glad we are just talking about it because there is no question for you here from me. Like, it's just, I'm glad that you are sharing that. And what can help us to feel safe to talk to that fear?
Yeah.
There is that little moment there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the biggest things before I answer, how old's your daughter?
10.
10. Oh, okay. So yeah, she's like lifing now. She's getting into
Yeah,
lifing. Very cool.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
And she's sensitive. From me, she gets it from me. And because I had anxieties and panic attacks for my entire life, only these last 10 years, I'm really okay. So I know how the fear can really get big
good.
and in your body, right? It paralyzes, it makes you feel like you want to die. So I know that in that moment, just saying talk to your fear, it's not real, right? So we need
Yeah.
to catch that moment before.
Yeah. So good. And thank you for sharing that. I'm sure it's one of the reasons that listeners love you is that, you put it all out there. It's so beautiful. You know, where so there's two spaces where if say it has arrived to a space where fear's kind of snuck up and it's like a sneak attack, where we got into that space, there's a technique that we coined called the bid technique. BID. Okay. BID. Like, whoa, okay, I need to bid. I need to bid. And the first is breathe. It sounds so simple, and I have a compassion of understand when in a panic attack, breathing can feel really hard. So please know if anyone's listening, this is that like that's a space of put on something that brings you through box breathing, or find something that can help you to get into that guided breath to be able to support you to start to slow down the breath and get more oxygen moving through the body. So first we breathe. Okay, let's just get this nervous system starting to calm down. Let's start to regulate it, is the B. And then we go to I, identify. Begin to say, okay, let me identify where am I feeling this in my body? What am I feeling? What is this, and it can be as simple as I'm feeling tension in my chest. I'm feeling a tightness. You might not be able to say, I'm feeling this because Sally said this and it made me nervous. We're not there yet. We might not get there, and that's okay. But just beginning to name where is it in the body? What's the sensation? Maybe identifying a color to it. If I were to give this a color, it would be purple. Just beginning to really be able to name it. Because when we can start to name something, it begins to diffuse the power it has over us. So giving us back to that why, right? Like I don't want to just give you all the tools, like, and here's why. So if we can name it, it starts to diffuse the power. It's now up in the front. And then we can go to the D, which is discover. That's after things have diffused a bit and we've been able to name it. We've gotten back to present moment and calm. Then we can start to say, what was that about? Why am I feeling that? Where does that come from? And perhaps it's something you can journal and you can do on your own. Perhaps it's bringing it to a therapist or bringing it to a coach or a healer, whomever, your path has you. But that's a great one for when it's more of that, the nervous system is activated, which been there. I went on a scuba diving trip recently, and I was taken for my first ever, but my first panic attack after the dive. It was very unexpected. I was very dehydrated. It was a very silly human moment of me, but I was a new scuba diver, didn't know. And so my compassion for panic attacks has never been deeper. So I was like, wow, I get it now, so that's there. And if it's for someone where it's not so much of an activated nervous system or just like being aware of it, I'd invite you to bring it to the physical. Okay, make a cup of tea for yourself and grab another mug and make a cup of tea and sit it down at the table and invite the fear and say, hey, I know you're here. Come sit, have a cup of tea with me. And open a physical space. And we'd be surprised of how chatty these parts will be because they're a part of us. We're so much more than just this. And we're so much more than just saying we're soul and we're a physical body. We're complex. We got the mental body, physical body, emotional body, spiritual body. We have the inner mother, father, child. Like there's a whole team, and fear is a part of the team. And they're a little annoying. If you ever worked in an office or this and that, or someone's like part of your team, or it's just like, you're important. I know you're a very important part of this team. We couldn't do this without you. But man, it takes a lot of extra communication and work with you to keep things moving. That's just the member of fear. They're just a little needy.
I just remembered, I think 2 days back, we watched Kung Fu Panda 4. And there is a moment at the beginning, I don't know if you saw it, but our children needed to see it. And there was that Kung Fu Panda on the hill, and he needed to meditate. So he was just sitting and saying, cool, I'm meditating. And one head started to talking, the other one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. And every head of his was saying something else, thinking of something else. And
So real.
I just asked my children, do you see yourself there? And they said, yeah, that's my head. I said, that's all of our heads. Like, relax. It's normal. It's really, really normal. Like, it's our heads really get chatty. Like, we can't just say, I'm meditating. It's quiet. Like, it's not so easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the space of one, just it makes me so happy to see like in films, like the seeds and things being planted and just like watching the development of films of like, okay, television. So it's really cool to see like entertainment, really starting to seed these things for our youth and for us. Like, let's be real. But yeah, that's where, and the reminder to all of us of, there can be with, a committed practice starting to train the mind into focus. And focus is the superpower for co-creating with God and taking the vision to reality. What's the ability to focus? But the meditation might not be sit on a hill and just close your eyes and, go into Gyan Mudra and that be it. It can be, and I do this often for myself because there's times I have so much life going on, in a great way. But sometimes I'm like, I have so much spinning. There's no way I'm going to sit down right now and do this. So I say, I'm going to do a cleaning meditation, or I'm going to wash the dishes, or I'm going to, and so I apply that meditative state, meaning I'm only going to focus on what is exactly what I'm doing and be so fully present with what I'm doing. Like, okay, so now I'm picking up the laptop and I'm going to walk calmly and I'm bringing it over here and I'll put it here and just bringing that full sense of awareness. That's a meditation too. We can turn brushing our teeth into a meditation. Washing the dishes. That's my personal favorite. People be like, you don't have to do the dishes. I'm like, oh, no. This is for me. No. I know you benefit from it. This is all for me.
I love that. Yeah, because and even what I learned is that the non-moving meditations are mostly for men. And for us women, it's more natural, the moving meditations, because it's just not in our bodies to sit still. Our men are more like stable in this way. So, for example, I love meditating while dancing, right? Or even if I have a guided meditation, I still need to move. Even if just being on a walk and listening to that meditation, even that helps me, because if I just sit still and just listen to something, or I fall asleep, or I get bored. And that's exactly what I love, what you said, like connected to your life, right? This way we really co-create everything. And this is what we wanted to dive in. So what helps you to balance it? So you're active, you're doing a lot of things. Exactly. The head is sometimes spinning, you meditate while doing stuff. And I think my husband would love you at our home, like washing the dishes, because this is something that he won't make me do.
Got you, girl. I got you. We can all watch Kung Fu Panda, then I'll wash the dishes. Done.
And but then there is a moment when you sell, right? You do something in your business, and you already mentioned it, right? We need to quiet our mind so we can channel it and then do the action, right? And what I see often is that fear that the idea won't come, or the idea will come and I need to do it right away, so I won't have time, like that unsteady flow. And I don't have it, but I know my clients, so they often ask this, right? And I think that it's a common fear for us female entrepreneurs that we connect that spirituality, right? So what do you feel there can help maybe, or what do you do?
Yeah. There's definitely not a one size fits all, and that's something I love about the journey of things. And we learn so much. I was having this conversation with one of my clients last night, where we're building up her 6-figure business, and where I said the offers and everything's going to continue to change. We don't want to get too attached to that, and it's through doing things and experimenting and just playing, you'll learn what sticks and what doesn't. If we get too caught into this specific service or this offer or this product, and this is going to be it, and we get so fixated on an outcome, well, then we're starting to really kind of mess up the God's plan of things. Where when we can look at being so committed to the process, getting so clear of, okay, I'm going to focus on how do I build the system and a structure so that way whatever wants to flow through, as women, right? Movement, water. So if we can create the container and then flow like water through it, well, then we can start to have fun and to play with it. And that's the space where I love for myself that practice of deep listening. That's where my prayer practice and the spirituality and the understandings of energetics is, the superpower for me within my business, because I've released this expectation of I have to figure anything out. I'm here to be a conduit. I'm here to serve. You tell me what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And I'm willing to submit and be obedient to the guidance I receive. And also have no expectation. If I put something out there and it doesn't, take off like wildfire, okay, cool. It was a lesson. As women, we've been trained to people please. So one, we won't go out there and put ourselves out there. And there's a huge fear of rejection that's been placed into us. That subconscious rewiring we get to work on. But that reminder of it's okay to fail. One of the practices, and I'll, invite this in, and then I would love to hear, your thoughts on this too. So this is juicy, is when I have someone who starts to work with me, they're a leader, man. They're so ready. Their essence is ready to start to hold the spaces and lead the groups and do the services and to, have the offerings and all the things. But that fear of the perfectionism or the rejection or I'm going to fail, sometimes it's really, really hidden if they're afraid to succeed, but we won't go there in this moment. One of the first things I do with them is say, okay, your homework for this week, I want you to fail 20 times. Go out and celebrate the fails that happen organically. And if you haven't hit them organically, I need you to fail 20 times before you get back to me next week. I need you to go fail. Go and ask, go to a coffee shop and just say, hey, can I have this for free today? And if they say no, amazing. You just got a fail for the week. Keep it moving. I need you to fail 20 times for me in a week. Let's start to build the muscle of understanding it's okay to ask, it's okay to hear no, and it's okay to fail. It's a part of the process of life. Let's go. So that's one of them that's really fun. That I'd be curious if anyone does it, please let me know. It's such a fun one.
And it sounds so scary to do that. Like, it's scary. I know that, for example, I love when it comes, the inspiration of reaching out, right? When I was selling, for example, mastermind or something like that, I got sometimes the impulse like, reach out to these few, maybe former clients or closer connections that it might be good for them. And what I saw for myself was the fact that it wasn't about them often buying. Like in 99%, they had said no. But by that action that I did, by that bravery that I showed, and just exactly as you said, I was just listening and doing the work and not expecting anything. Other people reached out to me and bought. So it was just about like opening it up with any activity, not expecting the result coming from that source, and always a result came, just maybe from the other side. And for me, I'm a 3-5 generator. So for me, failure, it's life. Like I don't even know what failure is because I just can't recognize it a lot. I like feel the hard moments, but for somebody else, it would be failure. For me, it's a test, right? It's okay, we were testing. We are always testing, optimizing,
Cool.
and making it better, right? So yeah, it's about relaxing in it. And I think it connects with that work with the fear, right? Because we are so afraid to fail. We are so afraid that practically we won't be able to have enough money to feed our children, to feed ourselves, right? To pay the rent. So the fear is real. But what I see, it's about not acting from the fear, right?
Yeah, so good. And fellow 5 line, I'm a projector 2-5. So feel you on the 5. And that's all. We're going to do a whole nother conversation just on the 5 line, and especially in the world that we're in. Oh, girl, feel you, love you. Yeah, that's a space where when we look at, so often we think this is my problem, and it's actually usually not that. And it's just there's a skill that's needing to be learned. And when we talk about the fear of, you know, more of the money stuff, which is huge, especially right now, the world is crazy, and like, compassion and love and understanding and acceptance and, different things. When we start to look at it just specifically the lens of entrepreneurship, because we can go global. I'm a vice president of a international Rotary Club, humanitarian, and I understand global dynamics is very different in different places. So please, know that different conversations and different angles of the conversation for anyone who may be
I think we
listening.
could talk about it for years, right?
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
still wouldn't
yeah,
catch all
totally.
the angles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we're talking specifically of entrepreneurship and stepping into these spaces and rising into the leadership of, I have been given a vision and a mission. I am here to lead. There's something alive in my heart. And I know my voice and my connection with God is universe, whomever, what you're listening to, is to bring this to people and support and uplifting humanity and the human consciousness. A big part of it is what is our capacity to receive. One of the big modules I do in my program, Permission Granted, is just called the pleasure threshold. And we start to look at, what is your pleasure threshold? Do you allow yourself and root into, and this one hits home for me because this was a big wound for me, and there's still room for me to continue to grow. Human, woman, growing, but to really continue to look at, how safe do we feel in knowing that it's so safe to feel pleasure? And I'm not just talking sexually, that sure as well, but I'm talking to feel the goodness of someone saying, I would love to work with you. Here, I'm going to pay it in full. or to smell the flowers slowly, or to eat the food. And that sensuality as women is our superpower. And what is our capacity to say, yeah, I can receive and I can hold this and I can do it in a way that I can say this feels good. This is natural. This is what it's supposed to be. Because very oftentimes our nervous system is like, too much goodness. I'm not worthy of this. I can't have this. And we start to block our blessings. So we can really start to look at, and that's where I love bringing in the energetic component. And us looking at, all right, well, let's look at what's going on in the subconscious. Are you willing to say, no, as much love as I can get, as much goodness as I can get, because I know that that's going to allow me to pour even more love and goodness and blessings onto others. It's a big one.
Oh, I love it. And yeah, as we are wrapping it in, my last question is, what do you feel that now needs to be said? Because we opened up a few of the really important topics and we really dive deep, and I'm glad for it. So, what do you feel maybe you need to say? What the people on the other side need to hear from you?
Yeah. One of the biggest things that's really alive in my heart right now is us all, may you take a deep breath and receive this, whoever's there. Like, the Aquarian age is here. There's a new energy current that's at play. You don't need to become an energy healer and this and that, but starting to learn and understand energetics for your own field to be able to stay grounded and rooted and co-creating with God is imperative. Please begin to allow yourself to anchor into your prayer practice, to learn some basic energetics, maybe doing, a Reiki training just to work with the frequencies and the baseline of things, because we need you. Whatever's alive in your heart and that leadership, we need you. The grand we need you to be able to step and hold that frequency and be that version of you. So that's like the biggest thing that's been alive in my heart in this moment.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, let's just explore, right? That's all we like, follow the heart. I always say, follow the heart, follow the crave. If we crave to study something, right? It means that that's the sign, like, go dive deep, study, learn, experience it, because there's the place you need to explore, right? And sometimes it's so simple.
Yes.
Thank
So
you so much, Keefe.
thank
Thank you.
you.
And have an amazing day. For you all, have an amazing day too. See you next time. And yeah, let's have fun.
Yes.